Hello and welcome.
To Design-Based Learning Podcast.
Yes, I am Mike.
I'm Henry.
And we're on the Zoom edition.
Yeah, episode 16 today.
Episode 16 Zoom edition.
Yeah, that means we've done it for 4 months already.
Correct, yeah. November, December, January, and February.
Great stuff, man. Keep it going.
Yes, let's go. And another episode where we're trying to figure out what's going on. So what are we going to talk about today?
Again, in our coffee, usual Friday. Virtual coffee.
Virtual coffee. I know. No, it's. I can't smell your coffee, and you can't smell mine.
Where's your mug? Where's your mug? Where's your mug?
My mug is here. Wait, let me grab it.
Obviously, it happens.
Oh, it can't be seen.
Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Mike. Enjoy the coffee together.
Funny.
Yeah. Can't even see it. All right. So
yes.
what did we talk in the coffee today?
What did we talk about? Well, we were saying some of the teachers were wondering about the creativity. No, the robotic ideas from kids coming out all the time.
Yeah. So whenever students come up with solutions, they give them a problem, they always come up with like robotic ideas. What do you mean by robotic ideas, Mike?
Basically, when they say, here's a problem, let's solve it. And the kids think, oh, creativity, let's create a robot that will solve the problem.
Yeah. So for example, if a kid is struggling with studies, we can just give him a robotic tutor. So this tutor can teach him everything he knows. And then the kid will be back on his good grade again. Correct.
Or something like, if there's a homeless person, then let's create a robot that can build homes for all the homeless people.
Yeah, so you can see students they are really creative to think of robotics or futuristic ideas, and it will happen in the future probably. But it's just if every time of every project it is this default answer, it seems like there aren't much learning in there, and it seems like it's not too practical in a way on how this will roll out in real life.
And it's like lacking a bit of critical thinking, right? Analysis.
Yeah. So when you just think about robots, we need to also think about how this robot will actually work in real life. Do you have the budget? Do you have the resources? Do you have the money to do it? It might not be possible. So sometimes we do need to think about what you can really do. And that's where really creativity comes, I think. When you kind of restrict them, give them circumstances or just area to focus on. And now you're provoking more creativity to come into real life.
Yeah. So how do we solve this creativity problem for teachers? Remember, we were talking to teachers like, let's give them a simple tool.
Yeah. And so the teacher came and asked us like, hey, is there any tools we can use in the classroom that can really revive that situation and allow students to think more laterally or more creatively in a more like practical way?
Yeah. And you came up with a tool.
Yeah, I didn't come with a tool. Actually, it's one of the students, one of the teachers that we taught in our workshops. She said basically you could use something called plus, minus, multiply, and divide. Okay. So in Chinese, it's called 加減乘除. It's much easier, yeah.
Okay. So let's put this into practice. How do we make this come alive? This plus, minus, multiply, divide. So let's say I give you a problem. Like street sweeping. How do we make street sweeping more creative? So
now the problem is we need to help street sweeper on the street to make their life a bit more easier. That's the problem that we're trying to solve. So if we put the plus angle into it, like how do we add something on and help the sweeper? All right.
Yeah.
So for example, if we just bring the focus from the class to the street, hey guys, let's look at what we can add on the street to make the life easier for the sweeper. So now the students will start thinking about, maybe we can add more bins on the street, and then so that there are more like places for people to put their rubbish in there, so there'll be less trash on the street and make the lives easier. So something like this, when you bring a focus to the street, it will be easier for the student to understand what kind of problems they're trying to solve and be more creative in there.
Or you can also add, like, in a sense, the equipment or gear for the sweeper herself, right?
Yeah. So
just keep a focus, right? Add something to the street, add something to the sweeper.
Yeah. So students can empathize with the sweeper. Maybe during like a 37 degree in Hong Kong, like summer, they can have like a fan with a they can add with the hat, they can add a bit of fan in there so that the sweeper could be cooler when they get on the street. So now you are generating more learning opportunities for the students to learn in there. So just by adding something into the solution.
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
So the next one is minus.
All right.
What is minus? How do you do it?
Minus is subtract, remove something. So it could be, let's look at the street. Maybe the area is too wide or too big for the sweeper. So we could reduce the street area so that the sweeper can be more efficient in taking care of sweeping, right? Or that's if you look at street. But the other one is, what if we look at what's the cause of waste, right? What's the cause of waste? People throwing waste.
Yeah. So can we minus that? How do we let people to reduce less waste, for example?
Correct.
Or starting from the roots on how to change a habit so that people minus rubbish basically in there. So also as well, the rubbish bin example from the plus, you can also minus that. So what about imagine the world without rubbish bin on the street? Right? That forces people to bring their rubbish back to the house and then to throw it away. So now the workers have less work on the street to sweep off the rubbish on the street.
Yeah. So that's another way of looking at it, the minus part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then it's the multiply.
Multiply. So how would you multiply?
So multiply is about how you can scale your service or your idea to more and more people. All right. So for example, how do we make the person sweep faster? So maybe we'll create some sort of a sweeping machine, like a Harry Potter machine thing. So that maybe look into the sweeping motion. How do we make it lighter so that they can do it faster? Or we can multiply how many sweepers on the street. We know that is a dying industry. Not a lot of people want to get into it, but how do we encourage people that is actually a vital job for the future? So now you're creating a lot of learning angles for students to create ideas on and learn from as well by bringing just a focus differently.
Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. So you're multiplying the different factors to look at. So there's an element of creativity there. Yeah. And then the last divide. Would it work if I say we're in a classroom? Let's try to imagine we're the street sweepers and let's divide this classroom into 4 parts or 5 parts, and let's see how well we work in cleaning up these 4 different parts or 5 different parts of the classroom.
Yeah, it's great. As well, you can use your environment, try to divide up your place and try to make students an empathetical learning experience. So try to empathize with the sweeper. Now this corner belongs to you. You need to keep it really, really clean and try to understand what the process of being a sweeper is like, the problems they might face. And then they can create some opportunities of ideas that can provoke in there. So divide as well is something you can use there. You got a really good example as well for another divide.
Well, divide is like if we look at the 24 hours, so there's only 24 hours in the day, and then the street sweeper can only use so much of it. Can we divide the timetable differently, right? So what do we have to do sweeping in the morning, in the daytime? We can do it at nighttime. It could be more efficient then. Okay, there's pros and cons, of course, right? So daytime, I can see what I'm doing. Nighttime, I don't. But daytime is hot, and nighttime is not.
Yeah. So now you can bring more lateral thinking in there, and students can really see the difference in there and see, oh, maybe there are opportunities that coming into it. But all in all, for the plus, minus, multiply, and divide, it is all about bringing the focus where students ideate on. Yeah. So when you let it free flow, like just come up with an idea, it's obvious going to be a robotic idea. But now if you use the plus, minus, multiply, divide, you are creating an angle for students to ideate on. So bringing in the focus. So that will really help you to have more practical ideas.
Yes. That's one of the things we have to do. I mean, and then the teacher really has to be a good facilitator in terms of keeping the focus and making sure the ideas from the kids come out clearly so that they can show how plus, minus, multiply, divide works, right? Yeah.
So even though like during in-class facilitation, or like when you're supporting student one-to-one at that level, when the students come up with an idea, you can use this as a framework to give feedback to students. So, or what about if you can add this thing into your idea? Maybe think about if you can minus this in your idea. can you multiply this idea? So now you are helping kids to think more laterally or more, and then they can create more practical ideas just by asking them a bit of questions. And there's a guiding framework for you to do that.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's a way of just, you can have wild ideas, you can have super creative ideas, but then it's good to keep the kids focused on like, okay, the creativity doesn't always have to be out of this world. It can be something as simple as looking at a common problem from a different perspective.
Yeah. So manage the spectrum is very important. You exactly know what kind of deliverable are you expecting students to deliver. Sometimes I do agree that you need to be imaginative, futuristic, and be more creative, but sometimes it needs to be more practical so that there are more learnings and outcomes in there.
Right. Yeah. So that's, manageable, can be wild, but creativity is not always out of this world. Well, I hope these tools are going to help our teachers, right? Because we're doing it for them.
Yeah. I hope you can use the plus, minus, multiply, and divide framework into your creative sessions with kids. Yes.
And hopefully that just gives you a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. So is that it for episode 16?
I think so.
Yeah,
our Zoom social distancing, work from home session.
Yeah. Actually, next week I got a live talk in Cantonese on design-based learning. Yeah. So if any teachers are interested, you can sign up in the link below. Yeah. So also subscribe it, share it to your friends, and we'll keep doing it until this is a popular thing in Hong Kong.
Yeah. We are generating some buzz. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next week. Have a lovely week.
See you next week.
Everyone.
Yeah. Everyone be safe. See ya.
Take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.